You are making the world a better place by listening to the Joy of Living podcast. This is your guide to achieving a more purposeful, powerful, and positive life. Join Barry Shore in unlocking the best version of you and becoming happier, healthier, and wealthier. And now, here's your ambassador of joy, Barry Shore.
Good day, beautiful, bountiful, beloved immortal beings, and good-looking people. Remember, you're good-looking because you're always looking for and finding the good. That's a good-looking person, looking for and finding the good. And you have tuned in consciously and conscientiously today to the Keep Smiling Show with your humble host, Barry Shore, the ambassador of joy. And you tuned in for one reason only. And that's a great reason, by the way. It's the only reason. Because you care the most, the entire world, about you. Y-O-U-E-W-E. And that's great because when you're the best you make the world a better place. You can build more bridges of harmony, create more joy, happiness, peace, and love in the world. And you are joined at this very moment. You are joined by unique beings around the world, numbering 349,613 people. And by the time we make it probably to the 10-minute mark, we'll be way over 350,000 people, all tuned in for the express purpose of becoming the best version of you. And the result of that, of course, is when you're the best you'll be happier, healthier, and wealthier. And who doesn't want that? And by the way, money back guarantee. I guarantee it. You'll be happier, healthy, and wealthy because in this show, the Keep Smiling Show with your humble host, Barry Shore, we discuss the three fundamentals of life. Three fundamentals are, number one, life. Your life has purpose. And when you lead a purpose-driven life, you can go mad. Now, MAD is a great acronym. It stands for Make a Difference. You lead a purpose-driven life, you make a difference in the world. And that's a wonderful thing. And the third fundamental of life is to uncover the power and the secrets of everyday words and terms. Everyday words and terms. Simple example. www. Ask anybody, what does it have to do with? And they'll tell you invariably it has to do with the internet. And factually speaking, they're correct. But in our world, the world of the positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant, www stands for What a Wonderful World. And whata is a word, right? W-H-A-T-A. What a wonderful world. Of course, a tip of the hat and a big thank you to Louis Armstrong, Satchmo, for enabling that song to go viral and touch not just tens of millions or hundreds of millions, but billions of people around the planet. And whenever you hear the opening bars of that song, what a wonderful world, what do you do right away? You can't help but do it. You smile. Now, smile is one of the most important words you could ever internalize, utilize, and leverage in your life because smile stands for seeing miracles in life every day. Every day, seeing miracles in life every day. Now, imagine the following. Imagine standing up in the morning, hale and hearty, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound, and that evening be in the hospital totally, completely paralyzed. That's me. Totally, completely paralyzed. Not an automobile accident, not a spinal injury, a rare disease, which I never heard of the day before, took over my body and rendered me a quadriplegic, which means nothing on my body moved. Nothing. I could barely turn my head left to right. That was it. That was 17 years ago. Actually, 17 years ago today. Today's the 17th of September. I won't tell you the year because this show will be watched decades from now, maybe even a century from now, maybe millennia from now. They'll uncover and say, Barry Shore, I heard about him. He's the guy who's the ambassador of joy. Joy, by the way, is a great acronym. It stands for Journey of You. So here I am, quadriplegic. 144 days in the hospital. I was in a hospital bed in my own home for 2 years. I couldn't turn over by myself. I was 4 years in various wheelchairs. I had braces on both my legs, my hips to my ankles. That was progress. Thank God today I'm able to be vertical and ambulatory with the help of a 7-foot walking wand. So I'm a tripod, not a biped. I still can't walk up a stair by myself. I can't walk up a curb by myself. And I have help 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. But you hear my voice. Positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant. And it's all because of one word. One word. And that word is smile. Smile? Smile. Seeing miracles in life every day. Now, invariably, when I'm speaking to people, just before COVID, by the way, we did a live audience show. Thank you. And we had 5,000 plus people in the audience. And invariably, people that raise their hands say, hey, Barry Shore, I've been there for hours already. Have you seen any miracles? And I asked them, are you here? Can you hear? Can you see? Can you stand? I can't. Can you walk? I can barely do that. Do you have water, drink, food, to eat, a place, sleep, family, friends? Every single one of those is a miracle. And what's the simplest proof? Simplest proof. 1 million people didn't get out of bed this morning. You know why? They died. By definition, if you're watching this or you're listening to it, you didn't. You're alive. If you're alive, you have an obligation to live exuberantly. That's the beauty of living. I got to tell you a quick story. My 8-year-old niece comes over to me a few weeks ago and she says, Uncle Barry, can we spell smile S-M-I-E-L? And I thought about it. Smile, sounds the same. I asked her, how come? Because she said then it would stand for seeing miracles in everyday life. Out of the mouth of babes, an 8-year-old. But what was she doing? She was creating the kind of world that she wants to live in. Now, create is a wonderful word, an acronym. It stands for causing rethinking, enabling all to excel. Rethinking is the key, called neuro-linguistic programming. We can do it for ourselves. You have a brain. Your brain has 100+ billion brain cells and over 120 trillion synapses connecting them all. And they're there for more than deciding what kind of latte you want this morning. The ability to choose in life is the key. The 6 most important words you'll ever hear in your life are choice, not chance, determines your destiny. Choice, not chance, determines your destiny. What you think, how you speak, how you act, those are your choices. And when you do that, you create the kind of world you want to live in. Now, I do have to warn you in advance, our guest today is somebody special. He uses a lot of 4-letter words, and so do I. But the 4-letter words that we use, of course, are, and then the world of the positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant are love, life, hope, grow, free, gift, swim, pray, play. 4-letter words. I urge you, use 4-letter words. I even use the 4-letter FU word, and I do it because of the shock value, and it's fun. The 4-letter FU word I use is fun. Fun, F-U, capital N, capital N. Now people are raising, hey, Barry Shore. Fun's only spelled with 3 letters. I said, not in our world. The world of the positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant. Fun is spelled F-U, capital N, capital N. So after the show, you see your family and your friends, you have a twinkle in your eye and a smile on your face. Remember that stands for, point your finger at everybody and say, F-U, everybody. But remember to add right away, capital N, capital N. I said, where'd you get that? I said, I listened to Barry Shore in the Keep Smiling show. He wants to teach the world how to F you, capital N, capital N. So before we bring on our amazing Renaissance man, this remarkable being who will make you lean in and wonder, wow, does one person do all that? And the answer is yes. I want to urge everybody to use the 2 most powerful words in the English language 3 times a day. Well, you know what 3 looks like. 3 times a day from this day for the rest of your life. And when you use these 2 powerful words, you're going to change your whole physiognomy. You're going to change your whole psychology. It'll be better for you, your family, your friends, and all living beings around the planet. And these 2 words are, drum roll, fanfare, da-da, da-da. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank stands for to harmonize and network kindness. To harmonize and network kindness. The Dalai Lama is quoted saying, I read in his writings, be kind whenever possible. And he said, it's always possible. So imagine this, going back into our coffee shops, forget COVID, no mask, it's gone, it's over, the pandemic is gone. You go to the coffee shop, you order your fancy latte for $5, and you sit down, somebody brings it to you. You say, Thank you. You walk in the coffee shop, you order a fancy latte for $5. You sit down, a few minutes go by, nobody brings to you. You go to the counter and say, oh, I'm sorry, we forgot. We're busy. We'll bring it to you. You go back, you sit down, a few more minutes go by, and then somebody brings it. You still say, thank you. You're walking out of the coffee shop. It's raining out. Somebody holds the door open for you. You say, thank you. You're walking out of the coffee shop. It's raining out. Somebody slams the door on you. You say, thank you. You stuck in traffic, you're late for an appointment, somebody cuts you off. You say, thank you. You get up in the middle of the night and you stub your toe and it hurts. You say, thank you. To harmonize and network kindness. Kind is a wonderful word that stands for keep inspiring noble deeds. I can't think of anybody in my mind that inspires noble deeds that I want to share you with or share with you than the amazing, wonderful Renaissance man, Kevin Howe. Okay,
morning,
Mr.
Barry.
Howe, does he have a typewriter behind him? We'll talk about that. Mr. Howe, please say hello to 358,722 people around the world.
Good morning, Barry, and good morning, 358,000.
By the way, that's Kevin on steroids. Okay, I won't even tell the story, which I will tell later about we were in a business meeting or something. So yes, so first thing is Kevin is a remarkable being. I call him a Renaissance man because he not only can leap tall buildings in a single bound, he jumps out of planes at 10,000 feet. He sails 72-foot yachts and bigger. He is a fire breather. He's a world-renowned mixologist. That means he makes drinks that make you want to have more alcohol. He's a great barbecue man. He's fabulous in the kitchen. And he's my business partner in a big, important venture that is literally changing the face of philanthropy. But let's just unpack a few of those things and say, okay, let's just talk about stuff. So right away, we're going to put you in a box. Even though you want to think outside the box, we're going to put you in a box. Let's talk about you as an adult jumping out of airplanes. When did you first start doing this and why?
I did my very first skydiving.
By the way, 1 second, Kevin. It's hard to hear you. You see how good we are? It's a little hard to hear you. Can you turn up your volume or something?
This is...
It's a little bit hollow. It sounds like you're in a box. That's all.
Well, I could change to a different microphone.
Oh, wait, that's a little better. Okay, maybe it's just me because I'm overpowering. So when did you start jumping out of planes and why? Was it because you were jilted by a lover?
I actually got my very first skydive as a 21st birthday present from my dad, and we did my very first skydive together.
Okay, so when were you 21? Was that 20 years ago?
A long time ago. That would be 40 years ago.
Okay, so you've been jumping out of airplanes. Now, did you start with, by the way, we're going to talk about a lot of things on this show. And if people want to call in, they're welcome to. But I'm fascinated by Kevin on many different levels. And you'll hear why. I'll announce one of them in just a little bit. But here he gets a birthday present from his father at the age of 21. And it's not to go to some exotic club. It's a different kind of club, and that's the club of skydivers. Now, what did he give you this as a gift to skydive or to parachute, or it doesn't matter?
Back then, the only option for skydiving, now they have tandem jumping, where you on the very first time you ever leave the airplane, you can basically be hooked up to an instructor, and you get the amazing experience of free fall.
Oh, by the way, that's of course the hookup culture. Now we see it it even infected skydiving. Okay, so yes, tandem jumping would sort of take the edge off of jumping out of a plane by yourself the first time. But in those old days when they used to have propeller planes, they didn't have that.
Yes, in the olden days. So yeah, back then your only option was to basically throw yourself out of the plane, and you were you have what's called a static line, so that as you fall away from the airplane, it automatically opens your parachute. So that was my first experience, and it was clear to me that that was not what people were all excited about. So I continued on through the course of learning how to skydive, to the point where you could get to doing free fall. So
let's talk about this idea for the moment. Your father gave this to you out of the blue, excuse the pun, or because you had intimated to him that would be something that would really turn you on. You would like that.
Oh no, this was a complete surprise. Matter of fact, I don't even think on the morning that we went out there, I don't even think he told me where we were going. So it was a total and complete surprise. And I remember it was, you had to go through basically an all-day course where you jump off of a platform and learn how to land and roll and not get hurt. And you learn all the terrible things that can happen and generally don't, but you need to be prepared for. And we were on the last airplane of the day, and we were on jump run headed down, toward the drop zone. And the jump master looks up at the pilot, and they have this kind of hand signal thing. And then he walks up and talks to him. And I was going to be the first guy out of the plane. So my legs were literally dangling out the door. And the jump master comes back and tells everybody to back up. And my dad goes, "What's going on?" And he said, the winds have come up. If the winds are too high, we're not going to be able to jump today. And my dad literally takes off his helmet and starts pounding it on the bottom of the airplane. I said, "No, we've trained for this all day." So it was another couple of weeks before we could go back and actually do the first jump. So it was.
So let me ask you: you're saying that your father went with you in that first jump?
Oh yeah.
Oh, so he was a jumper by himself?
Well, it was his first jump too. So,
wow, two virgins. You don't have many of those in California.
Yeah, well, you used to live here, buddy.
By the way, this was in California, correct?
Yep.
And where was it? Down in San Diego area?
Lake Elsinore.
Lake Elsinore. That's a famous sort of jumping place.
Yeah, and there's not that many skydiving drop zones, but Lake Elsinore was probably the biggest one back in that time, and it's still out there. So that's where he had made the reservation, and we went. It was
so let's move forward a little bit.
It was 7 years of my life that I jumped, and then I took a break, and then I went back and started jumping again sometime later. So I think I have a total of like 325 jumps.
How many? You just said it so casually. I heard 25, but I think you preceded that with a number called 1.
325.
325 jumps. I want to emphasize this. Yeah, he's still smiling when it says jump on it.
That's not me, by the way.
3? Okay, it's not you, but doesn't matter. It could be any crazy person jumping out of a plane that says jump. 325 jumps over the course of, let's say, 30 years or so, plus minus.
Well, yes, not 30 years. I think I jumped all told maybe about 8 years.
So the amazing thing is that I want to put this in context of people. First of all, we have listeners, thank God, from all over the world. And I would dare say out of the hundreds of thousands of people listening, that fewer than 1/10 have ever jumped out of a plane consciously, and as opposed to consciously and conscientiously once, let alone twice or 5 times or 325. So I want everybody around the world, they're applauding right now, they're rolling on the floor laughing and say, "Barry Shore, we love you. You got a great sense of humor, but who the heck is this real guy? And is it true?" And the answer is it's all true. And there's more coming from Kevin Howe. I mean, he doesn't look like he's the Geronimo type of guy, but so let's go back to a couple things. Here you are, 21 years old, pissing in your pants, excuse the expression, and you're jumping out of a plane and you're not holding on to your father, you're jumping free fall because they didn't do tandem in those days, interestingly enough. And you're saying you had practiced a little bit by jumping off a platform to learn how to do rolls, which is, of course, that's about as real as, how should we say it, as trying to ride a horse by sitting on a saddle that's slung over a railing on yeah, I'm riding a horse. No, you're not. I'm flirting in a fall. Everything goes away when you jump out of the plane and say, wow. So the classic question is, wonderful Kevin, when you jumped out of the plane the first time, did you sing anything? Did you say anything? Or were you just saying, this is interesting, and kept falling?
I'm going to answer your question in a different way than what you asked it. The first 30 or so jumps that I did, the amount of terror that's in your body is rather extraordinary. But somewhere around 30 jumps, I think your body can only hold so much emotion. So somewhere around 30 jumps, it was like, it started to go where it was 90% terror and 10%, oh, this is awesome. And then from that point forward, that the awesome factor got much bigger and the terror factor went way down. And much later on, when I had hundreds of jumps, there was always a little bit of fear in there. And I always said the only kind of person I was afraid to skydive with was somebody who wasn't afraid to skydive, because it meant they didn't really respect and understand what they were doing. So it doesn't mean
right. So that is beautiful. Let's unpack this. This is an important point you made. Let's say the normal reality of life is you're jumping out of a plane at what, 10,000 feet? What's the approximate altitude?
12,500.
4,000?
12,500.
4,500. Okay, so 12,000 feet.
500 feet. Yeah, you're 2 miles plus up in the air.
Okay, so some people jump lower at 10,000, but anyway, 12,000 feet high. That is that's a tall building. It doesn't even compute for regular human beings. So you're jumping out of a plane that's moving along at probably a couple hundred miles an hour, plus minus, at 12,000. Sorry?
90 miles an hour, roughly.
90 miles. Oh, sorry. It's a slow plane. And I hope they don't run out of gas. It's 90 miles an hour. And the wind is moving past you at quite a fast speed. And it's 12,500 feet. Now, here's the amazing thing that I want to say. And you can correct me, obviously, because I don't jump out of planes. I haven't done one yet, let alone 325. However, the thought of a general person is, oh, if I jump out of a plane, I'm jumping into nothingness, into air, and I'm just going to fall. But the reality of when you become aware of what it means to be a skydiver, you understand that you're diving into what others would call, I'll call it water. In other words, just as water has buoyancy and it has waves and it moves, so does the air. The air is not a vacuum. The air has highs and lows, and it has some sort of, how should we say it, lift to it, so that you're really not jumping and just falling. You are falling like a rock, but you're able to move through those that you can read. You can read the waves. So please correct me if I'm wrong, but am I in any way close to the reality?
Skydiving is like three-dimensional dancing. You're right in that once you start falling, if you imagine sticking your hand out the sunroof of your car, there's something there to push on. So, but if the car is stopped and you put your hand out, there's nothing to push on. So when you're falling, what is called the relative wind, because it's actually you who's falling, so there's no wind, but the wind it feels like wind because you're the one that's moving. That's what allows you to go forward, go backwards, turn in place, slow your rate of fall. So yeah, it is the relative wind that is the surface upon which you're pushing, pulling, surfing basically. So it's a really glorious experience of three-dimensional dancing, if you will. I've done 3 jumps out of a hot air balloon, and that's an entirely different experience at first. You know, when you jump out of an airplane that's moving 90 miles an hour, your first relative wind is coming at you sideways because the airplane's flying horizontally. So you don't work with the wind that is. There is no wind that is a downwind or an upwind. The wind is sideways. So when you exit the airplane, you present your body to the surface that is horizontal at first, and then as you start falling, the relative wind shifts to basically what your experience is, that it's coming up. It's not, you're going down. But when you leave a hot air balloon, it's very interesting in that there's nothing. It's just so it's not until your rate of speed of your fall increases that you then have anything to actually push against and work with. So jumping out of a hot air balloon is a very trippy experience.
I would think, by the way, that jumping out of a hot air balloon is, in quotation marks, more dangerous than jumping out of a fast-moving plane at 12,000 feet, because at 12,500 feet, you got a little more room to adjust. Hot air balloon, you're only a few hundred feet up, and it's, now what?
No, you would. It would be your last skydive if you're only a couple hundred feet up, because your parachute wouldn't have time to open. So yeah, no, I jumped at varying altitudes from 2,000 to 7,000 when I jumped out of hot air balloons. So it's
hot air balloons go up over 2,000 feet high.
It's unusual, but if you find the right pilot and you pay them enough, they will.
Okay, so by the way, I want everybody to notice a couple of things here. So Kevin is, he's not known as Barry Shore. He's known as Kevin Howe. He has a different demeanor and personality than I do, of course. Not everybody should be me, not everybody should be him. But notice, as he's speaking about the process of skydiving, he's becoming more and more animated, because it's filling him with that passion, and he's thinking in his own mind, because he's a lot of hot air anyway. So he's thinking in his own mind what it's like. He's reenacting as he's talking to us about it, what the movements are like and the things and such. And again, as he said, I think it's an important insight that you brought us. Let's say the first 30 jumps. Now, by the way, I don't know if we took a percentage, but if you take all the people, let's say in America, just as an example, because people jump in America maybe more so than other places. All the people who jump in America, let's just call it number 1,000. Out of those 1,000, I'd say fewer than 5% are going to jump more than 30 times. Just because, hey, first of all, it's a little bit expensive. And second of all, you got to be crazy enough to jump more than 30 times. Like you said, once you get past 30 and into the hundreds, which is a very small percentage, the fear factor is inverted, but there's always the healthy recognition of the reality. We'll call that fear, for want of a better term. But in the initial times, fear is larger than exhilaration. And then it flips, and the exhilaration becomes larger than the fear. And I think that's true, by the way. I want to make an analogy to business, because I happen to love business, and I'm much more skilled at business than jumping out of planes. But when it comes to, let's say, building businesses and starting business, especially ones that have large visions that want to touch a lot of people and make a difference in the world, then the fear factor initially is you have to have the adrenaline to get going. But once you've done it a couple of times and you know where to step and not to step, and what the doo-doo smells like and feels like, and not to be squishy with that, and you get past that, then the exhilaration kicks in, and the fear, the healthy fear, is there, because things can always go bump in the night. Now, you don't want that ever to happen when you're skydiving, so I'm glad it didn't happen with you, although you might even tell us one story where it did end up with a broken ankle or something like that. But other than that, here's a guy, my partner, Kevin Howe, which we'll talk about on the other side of this short break, which we're going to do right now. 325 plus jumps out of a moving plane at thousands of miles above the earth. Ah! And there's more of this coming back right after this brief message. Don't go away, because this is just beginning. Buckle up, kids. There's more on the other side. Hi, everybody. You know the story of Barry Shore, standing up in the morning, hale and hearty, in the evening, completely, totally paralyzed. And I was like that for several years. You can imagine the difficulties I faced mentally, not just physically. And it's the mental aspect that was the most debilitating and the most frightening. I got to tell you, it wasn't easy to speak to somebody. And I did. I finally did. I spoke to several people over the course of a number of years, and it helped immensely. And I know that it's hard to talk about these things. By the way, did you know that suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the United States for all ages? About 21 million American adults have a mood disorder, and especially with depression and bipolar, there's an ability to get help. That's the genius of what we're talking about here. There is help available from what's called the dbsalliance.org. I want to tell you a couple other things. Over 47,000 Americans died by suicide in 2019. Over 47,000. And middle-aged white males have the highest rate of suicide, counting for almost 70% of all deaths by suicide. On average, about 130 suicides every day. Every day. I urge you, please get involved for yourself, for a friend, for a family member, for someone you know that may have issues. I want you to go, please, to dbsalliance.org/suicide-prevention. Okay, it sounds like a lot, but I'm going to repeat it again, and you're going to hear it, you're going to see it on the screen. D as in David, B as in Barry, S as in Samuel, Alliance, dbsalliance.org/suicide-prevention, because we can prevent. Please do so now. Imagine the kind of place you would want to shop for your favorite fur baby pet. HonestPets.co. Well, you found it. HonestPets.co. Not .com, .co. This is your go-to spot for the best, the cleanest pet treats that exist anywhere on the planet. All of the brands go through a rigorous review to make sure they meet the high standards of cleanliness, health benefits, and naturalness. This site was started by a husband and wife team, and it's veteran-owned, and that care about pets, especially dogs and cats, and coming soon, bird treats. These are very nice young people who really care about making a difference, because a portion of proceeds go to support veteran organizations with a focus on service dogs. This is the place where you want to go. You want to tell your friends. This has the finest, yummiest, freshest, all-natural treats and stuff for your fur baby. So go there, honestpets.co. honestpets.co. Do it now. Good day, beautiful, bountiful, beloved, immortal beings, and good-looking people. Remember, you're good-looking because you're always looking for and finding the good. We have good in abundance, overflowing, and is jumping out of planes, and is breathing fire, and it's mixing alcohol. One person. And this is Kevin Howe. This is an interesting being. He's actually my business partner as well. We'll talk about that a little bit later. We want to shift from skydiving to fire breathing. Now, of course, everybody associates skydivers with fire breathers. But let's talk about that, Kevin. First of all, tell us, what the heck is a fire breather? And we're not kidding around, everybody. What do you do? When do you do it? And why?
Nice shot. So, by the way, I'm speaking louder. So tell me if this is easier to hear me, because otherwise I'll switch off my headset and try a different mic. But
It's a little bit
I
better.
all right. Well, a little bit better is good. So I went to Burning Man back around 2000 and saw the best collection of fire artists anywhere in the world, and came back to Los Angeles and kind of forgot about it because, it's not like you can't go to college and say, oh, I want to learn how to spin fire, breathe fire, eat fire, whatever it is. But then discovered that I had some friends that were in the fire arts community. And
Wait a minute, it's called the Pyro Community?
Fire arts. Fire arts.
Oh, it's called the Fire of Community.
Fire arts. I'm going to switch to a different microphone and see if this helps.
No, just because I'm part deaf doesn't matter, but still.
Let's see if this works.
Okay, how do you spell what you just said?
Stop talking for a second.
I like Pyro Community better. It doesn't matter what you're calling it.
So does this sound any better or worse?
Yes, it does sound better.
All right. Well, then we're gonna stay here on this microphone.
Yeah, turn it up a little more, but that's okay.
Oh, shoot, but I gotta wear this, otherwise I can't hear you. All right. Fire arts was what I said, and I became the business manager of Los Angeles's best fire performance group, and got bookings for the group all around town and at fairs and things like that. And in the process, I performed sometimes. I had a normal business to run, so I didn't have time to rehearse at the level that they did, but basically picked up a lot of different skills while I was working with the team, both as a performer and as the business manager.
So let me understand, just put on, everybody I hope saw the picture. By the way, if you're listening to this as a podcast, then you didn't see the picture. There was a picture of a guy standing and he was breathing fire. So let's explain, let's break it down and go back to basics. What does a fire breather do?
Fire breathing is, there's only one safe fuel that you can actually use to put in your mouth, and it's not toxic to your body. But the unusual thing about that particular fuel is that it's also relatively non-flammable. So if I was to put a bowl of this oil, and I'm not going to say what the fuel is because I don't want people to get the thought that they can try this at home.
Right, don't do this at home.
Right, so, but this particular fuel, if I was to put a bowl of it on the ground and drop a match into it, the match would go out. So it's the only way to make that fuel ignite is to learn how to aspirate it in a way that mixes a ton of oxygen with it, which is why when you see pictures of fire breathers, the balls of fire are huge because you have to really turn it into a very fine mist when you ignite it. Otherwise it won't. If you just blew it out as a stream, it wouldn't even ignite. So
so let me interrupt you. So are you telling me and hundreds of thousands of people around the world who are buckled up, leaned in and saying, this is amazing, that it's the oxygen combining with this unique fuel that enables it to ignite, or that we see igniting and creating the ball of fire, whereas the normal way that people associate is that put a lit match or some sort of torch onto a liquid and that will cause it to ignite. It's the opposite of what we think. It's using oxygen to create the fire. But now, by the way, we all know that when oxygen is around, that's what enables fires to burn. If you don't have oxygen, yep, you're not going to have a fire. So you're saying it's the utilizing the breath in such a way so you can now project that dragon-like process. Is that correct?
That's 100% correct. It's quite a workout for your lungs because, like I said, you have to blow with all your might and learn how to create a mist as opposed to a stream, and that's what causes it to be that giant ball of fire.
So not only was Kevin, as he said, a business manager for several people who did this, or maybe one particular one, who, by the way, used to have a beard but doesn't anymore. But he became a practitioner as well, and he did it at parties. Of course, the parties turned into barbecues afterwards. So that's why we're going to shift, and we're going to talk about how long have you been doing fire breathing? Are we talking about 5 years, 10 years, 20?
About 15.
15,
maybe a little more.
15 years.
15 or more, yeah. Something like that.
Right. And do you have to do it at least once a quarter to keep your chops, as it were? Or can you go months and months without doing anything and still have that ability?
It's a bit like riding a bike, that once you learn it, you're not going to forget it. Of course, like anything else, practice makes perfect. So there's a benefit in keeping your keeping your chops tuned up. But yeah, I could go a long time because it's muscle memory. I know how to do it now. So
I'm going to ask the simple kid-like question, because I am. Fire breather wants to show off. And can a fire breather breathe a ball of fire, let's say 10 feet away, and ignite something, a torch that's not lit? Can a fire breather be standing 10 feet away and ignite a torch?
A good fire breather can. One of the things that I've enjoyed doing at performances or 4th of July party or whatever is hand somebody an unlit torch and have them stand a good distance away from me, and then breathe fire in an arc and end up lighting their torch, which is a pretty fun little trick, if you will. Yeah.
Okay, this is wonderful. So again, this is Kevin Howe sitting in his. This is the 5th time he's had to move, of course, because the walls in the other apartments all got charred from his fire breathing, so they evicted him. But he's now in a new place in Pasadena, and he's very happy there. So he went from skydiving to fire breathing. Let's talk about another one of his great exploits. He is a world-renowned mixologist. Now, a mixologist actually can have two different sort of understandings in today's world. One has to do with music, because you can be what they call it, a DJ. But since nobody spins discs anymore, they're really a mixologist, because you're mixing music. But Kevin is a mixologist when it comes to alcoholic drinks. And as I said, he is so good that even I, who really don't enjoy alcoholic drinks, when he makes it, I want more. And that's not because I'm a lush. It's because he's so good at what he does. It's the subtlety of what he brings to mixology. So let's talk about you and mixology. What got you interested? Why? How long have you been doing it? And why do you continue to do it?
I've always found it's really easy to be good at something that you enjoy. It's like I enjoy good food, so I enjoy cooking. I learned how to cook, basically self-taught, but it's the same thing. It's like a good craft cocktail. I love that. And so, not having to go out to a bar and spend $20 for a drink.
Is that what it costs, by the way? I haven't been in a bar probably in nigh on to a duck's age, but that's what it costs to get a good drink at a bar?
15 to 20, yeah, at least in Los Angeles.
So tell us about one of your favorite drinks. Let's say how about a really great daiquiri? Is a daiquiri considered a drink?
A daiquiri?
Daiquiri.
It is. Yes, it is. Just for fun, if people wanted to jot this down, one of my companies is called Contributor Rewards. So if you go to contributorrewards.com, there's a tab on there called Just for Fun. And I have 3 videos up there that I produced for, actually they were produced by good friends of mine that are both Hollywood talent. So they made even me look good. So there's a espresso martini recipe there. There's a Mai Tai recipe and a smoked mezcal cocktail. So,
And by the way, I can attest that the videos are fun, and Kevin is a hoot. It's a hoot how, and he's doing these videos at one of the most beautiful locations in all of Southern California. It's overlooking some beautiful vista in Pasadena on a great terrace. And you say, wow, if this is how people live in America, no wonder I want to fight and die to get in here. Well, actually not die, but I'll do anything to get to America. This is how people live. Well, it's really not how people live, but that's how Kevin lives. Okay, so when he does his mixology, by the way, everybody should know that I have asked him to come out of the closet and to create a Kevin Howe mixology community, which will be populated by thousands and thousands of lushers around the world who really want to learn how to mix alcohol in such a way that it doesn't become addictive, but it does become pleasant, which is really what these drinks are about. Please correct me if I'm wrong, Kevin, that the genius of a good mixologist is to be able to create a drink that is drinkable, pleasant, gives that which is supposed to do with alcohol a slight buzz, without in any way becoming overpowering and therefore toxic. Is that fair to say?
I'd say that's fair to say. Yeah, I mean, if you're making a drink that is too strong, it's not even going to taste good. So balancing out your flavors, that's a requirement.
Okay, so here's a question from from people who know something about drinks, which I know nothing. But I asked because I told people I was having you on. They asked this question. Can one mix drinks in the sense that, let's say you started with a martini. Can you now go on to a Rob Roy? Or do you have to wait in between and let time take its, make the benefit before you start tasting another kind of drink?
I have no idea what you just asked me.
Okay, so somebody just had a martini and they finished the martini. It took them about 10 minutes and they said, okay, give me a Rob Roy right away. Or do you want to let it savor and wait 20 minutes before so that sort of that taste dies down and now you can go into a different kind of drink?
Personally, I think that, you need to have a pause to just not, you don't want to eat spicy food and then follow that up with ice cream like instantaneously because they're going to bump into each other. But it's not like you need a giant buffer zone there. But and it also depends on what you're drinking. You could probably switch more easily from one type of wine to another. But if you're going to drink a smoked mezcal cocktail, that flavor is going to stick with you a little bit longer than a glass of white wine, as an example.
Well, that's really what I meant by my question, as awkwardly as it was posed. So I think you answered it in a much more sophisticated and correct way. Very good. Thank you. Now, before we go, because by the way, time is going so fast. Can you believe that? I want to get to one other item there. But if you could recommend 3 top drinks that you really enjoy mixing and you think people really would like to learn how to mix well, what 3 drinks would you recommend?
Well, the 3 drinks that are up on the website that I mentioned are fantastic and diverse choices. There's the espresso martini, which is very, very flavorful and a different kind of a twist on a martini. I love a good plain martini. That's just a very elegant drink. So, I mean, a martini in all its forms is probably the most classic cocktail. There's a Mai Tai recipe on there, which is, of course, a sweeter drink. It's a great summertime by the pool kind of a drink. And the smoked mezcal cocktail that's also a video up there. that's probably the showiest of the drink, because you actually create the cocktail and then put it on a platform, put a glass dome on top of it, turn on a smoker, fill the dome with smoke, let the smoke flavor infuse into the the moisture on the glass and the cocktail, and then when you take the top off, the smoke pours out over the table.
As I said, he's not just a mixologist in the sense that he puts pieces together and makes a drink. 300 feet ones. He's more in the 50 to 75 feet. But let's just talk about, let's say, a nice 72-footer off the coast of California, and you're more into the a power boat. Well, not call it a boat, but more into power than in sail. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, if I at some point in my life decide to stop working, I've taken sailing courses, I've taken sailboats out, but that's something where you really have to keep your chops up, and there's a lot to learn there. And I respect the ocean so much. It's not a place where you can be cavalier and have the story end well. So I've owned a couple different yachts and gone over to Catalina many times, and so yeah, power boating is a whole different art form than sailing, and I have great respect for people who sail great distances. So not something that I know all that much about, but power boating is something that I've done for close to 20 years.
So this is really, and I think we go back now full circle to the idea of skydiving. When you talked about fear going into exhilaration as you get past jump 30 into the hundreds and such. And what happens is that the fear is larger in the beginning, and then it turns into exhilaration with respect. In other words, not exhilaration and fear, but exhilaration and respect, because you have to respect the flow of wind as well. I mean, things can happen, things move. That's the nature of life. So as you just said about respecting the ocean, and because a squall can come up without a moment's notice, things can happen in the air as well. And I think that was a better use of the term. Instead of fear per se, I think we'd like to use the word respect. And I think that's part of the healthy part, even with fire breathing, by the way. Things can go bump in the night on any of these things that you do. That one must always have a healthy respect for life and the process that you're engaging in. In other words, walking down the street, walking out of your house, and not noticing a crack in the sidewalk and twisting one's ankle and falling to the ground and breaking a knee. Well, if you're very cavalier and you just walk along and like an inebriated being, well, then you're not going to be careful. But if you're walking and you're conscious of things, we know stuff happens anytime and every time, right? That's the nature of life. Look what happened with COVID in the past year and a half. It shifted the entire world. And everybody knows that shift happens. The interesting thing about most people is they can't pronounce that F, Kevin. They just can't, they end up pronouncing shift in a different way. But we know that shift happens. That's why it's always good to have a healthy respect, as you said, for whatever it is that you're doing. Whether you're breathing fire, jumping out of a plane at 12,000 feet, or you're mixing up a drink of alcohol for somebody and making sure that they're at the right frame of mind. And of course, sailing a yacht and being aware of the sea. Let's talk about now what we're doing together, because we're business partners. One of the reasons I asked Kevin to be on the show is not because he's my business partner. That was an afterthought. I did it because in the course of our relationship over the past couple of years and building something that is literally changing the face of philanthropy, and we don't have much time to go into it actually because we're coming up to the top of the hour, but I'll just give a thumbnail. But over the course of the past couple of years of working together and working through unique situations and making sure that we have gone from fear to healthy respect for life. And again, as I said, changing the face of philanthropy. What he and I are building and have built, and what we're now moving into the next phase, literally could raise $1 billion over the next decade or less. $1 billion for worthy causes by everybody, people chipping in a quarter. That's how powerful what it is that we've built. But the reason I mention is because in the course of being friends and building together this business, I've learned about Kevin. I didn't know when we first started out. I didn't say, give me your resume. Oh, I see you're a skydiver, a brighter breather. In the course of people speaking with each other and talking and learning about each other, you find out things about people, because nobody goes around, unless they're crazy, and saying, hey, I'm a skydiver with 325 things. I'm super person. That's not the kind of person you want to do business with. You want to build a relationship with somebody who is careful, clear, concise, well-meaning, and dedicated to being of benefit to people. See, the essence of business, from my personal point of view, and Kevin as well, is that you begin with the proposition, what is it that we can do to be of benefit? Will we make money doing it? Well, if we bring enough benefit, the answer is yes. By law. It's a law as much as jumping out of a plane or breathing fire with the right kind of mechanism, the right mix, being on the sea and having a healthy respect. It's a law. Law stands for love and wisdom. When you work with the law of business, the law of attraction, you create the kind of world we want to live in, as we said, causing rethinking, enabling all to excel. And because of Kevin, we rethought a process that we have that enables people to, let's say they're going to pay their mortgage or their car payment or whatever, to throw a quarter, 25 cents into whatever transaction they're doing. Imagine that, a quarter. Who wouldn't chip in a quarter for a cause that you like? And it's all done electronically through your bank account and such. Well, I said, when you're paying something, just say you want to support public radio, public television, or the Shriners, or St. Jude Hospital, or any number of causes. The ability to do that by just signing up for the system, what we call change bowl, literally throwing change into a bowl, and letting that accumulate a few dollars every month. And now you aggregate millions and millions of people just chipping in electronically in the new 21st century, doing it in the right way. Guess what happens? We now can fund those causes that make a difference in the world. You are literally contributing to people going mad, which is wonderful, because that's who Kevin is. He's mad. He makes a difference. He jumps out of planes. I jump over buildings. He jumps from buildings. He breathes fire. I put fire out. He makes mixology. I like water. Okay. But we both like water. But we love people. We love doing things. We love contributing to the world. And that's why I asked him to be here today. And that's why, Kevin, I'm just deeply humbled and honored to be partnered with you in the Changeable experience and to work together. That we're doing something. So I'm going to ask you, you have 80 seconds to answer this question. What is your most fervent desire? 80 seconds.
Most fervent desire, to create a kinder world. I don't think I need 80 seconds. Anything that
that's
I can
it.
do.
Create a kinder world, because that's who he is. Keep inspiring noble deeds. You don't have to be a skydiver. It's nice. You don't have to be a world famous mixologist, a fire breather, or a sailor. Be you. Because when you're the best you possible, guess what happens? You make the world a better place. Remember the 3 fundamentals. Life has purpose. When you lead a purpose-driven life, you go mad, you make a difference. Uncover the power and the sequence of everyday words and terms like WWW. What a wonderful world. Smile. Seeing miracles in life every day, or seeing miracles in everyday life, as my 8-year-old niece says. Create the kind of world you want to live in, causing rethinking. Enable all to excel. Use 4-letter words like jump, free, gift, pray, play, swim, love, life. Tell the world, F you. Capital N, capital N. Say the 2 most powerful words in English language 3 times a day for the rest of your life, and you'll change the world. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks stands for to harmonize and network kindness. To harmonize and network kindness. And we're going to do a hug, and then we're going to give a blessing. The hug stands for harmonizing unlimited giving. Are you ready, Kevin? Harmonize unlimited giving. 1, 2, 3. Roar! our blessing to you is go forth, live exuberantly, spread the seeds of joy, happiness, peace, and love. Go mad. Go make a difference.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Joy of Living podcast. Now that's another step towards your healthier, happier, and wealthier life. Never hesitate to do good in the world, no matter what the situation. Join us for another upbeat discussion next time at barryshore.com. And be sure to leave a rating and subscribe to the show to get more conversations like this. And remember to share it with your family and friends too. See you on the next episode.